Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Heinen, and today I will be talking about forms of communication in the marketing communication field. So, to start off my research process, I met with professionals who work in the marketing communication field, and then I asked those people specific questions. And then after that, I did some follow up research on the internet. And so my first person that I looked at in the marketing communications field was Emily Rawlings DeHaven. And Emily is the marketing communications senior specialist at 3M. She's a graduate from the University of Wisconsin River Falls, a mom of three, and she works for the freshwater and purifying freshwater department at 3M in the social media area. And the second person that I interviewed with and asked questions to was Sarah Muir, and she is a marketing communications specialist at 3M and also a University of Wisconsin River Falls grad. She's a very recent grad, and she found 3M through LinkedIn, which is the same program that Emily is in. And so what I did was I asked them a list of questions. And so the first question that I asked was, what is your normal workday like? And Emily said for her, she wakes up, gets the kids to school, and then starts her workday at home or sometimes in the office, depending on the day. She said before COVID, she would go into the office half a week and stay home the other half. And Sarah said that depending on the meetings, because they're all at different times, she'll start her day and get working and then go and work completely from home. And so then the next question I asked is, do you enjoy working from home? And Emily said, yes, 3M is more concentrated on the quality of work than the quantity. So basically, 3M cares about how much work you get done and how well it's done rather than being there for 8 hours a day and just putting your time in. And so Sarah said also, yes, she also enjoys working from home. She's never actually been to the 3M building because of she was hired during COVID. So her interview and her first day of work and every day since has all been at home. And so then the next question I asked these two was, how do you most often communicate with your team? And so Emily said that she mostly uses email, and Sarah also said mostly email. And then I asked, besides email, what other ways do you communicate? And Emily said Canva and Zoom, along with Microsoft Teams and memos and email. Then Sarah said for her, mostly Microsoft Teams and Canva, because they are both in that same department. It makes sense that they both do the same kinds of communication. And so then lastly, I said, what way do you prefer to communicate? And Emily said online meetings, and Sarah said through email. And so then after I met with Sarah and Emily and they answered those questions for me and I got a little bit of information on what it's like being a person that works from home and how you communicate while you're so far away from everybody else, I went and looked on the internet. And that's where I got most information for my infographic. And I also have some other extra information as well. So I found that home-based employees tend to be 47% more productive. So you're actually more productive, it seems, when you're not actually in the office. 86% of employees think remote work is the future of work. 81% of home workers use video calls often, and 39% of businesses primarily use email. And then I went on to find some stuff that pertains more to my age group. So millennials use 28% of email 28% of the time, while baby boomers use it 93%. So the millennials are using emails dramatically less than the older generations. And that I've also found that 64% of four-year college graduates work from home or at least part-time work from home. And that 70% of millennials claim going to the office is not necessary for effective work. And so here on the next slide is my pieces of my infographic. So bottom right is the little people, 2 green people, and the rest are blue. 2 in 8 Americans work remotely. And then over at the data table, that is the amount of Americans working remotely. So in 2018, 2019, and 2020, in the left column are the years, and then in the right column it shows the millions of people that have been working remotely. And as you can see, there's been a incline in 2019 because of COVID, and that has gone back down, but still continues to grow. And then when you look at the pie chart up on the top left corner, these are the popular ways people communicate when working remotely. So emails are the highest at 48%, and text messages are the lowest at 8%. And then farthest corner on the left, that bar graph shows emails sent and received by the billions every year. So that's how many people are sending emails every single day throughout the year, and how it's still growing up as the year goes on. And so lastly, what have I learned about my future career field? I found that overall, I most likely will have a remote job at one point in my career, and probably also like an online interview, and similar to the situation where Sarah is in at 3M. And then the next thing I found is that email will probably be one of my main ways of communication. And lastly, Canva and Microsoft Teams are ways that companies do group projects, and so it's really important to be familiar with those 2 options, along with Zoom as well. Depending on the company, 3M preferred those 2, but it can change through different companies when you find yourself there. But yeah, so overall, that is where I will probably find myself in my future career field, and using those forms of communication.